Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's MMA Cycles Market Update. This is your host, Gianni DePoce. We're back again. It's Friday, and it's been another wild week in many markets. Stocks are exploding higher into the weekend. Still have a little bit more than an hour left in the trading day as I complete this recording, but we just had Jupiter retrograde back into Pisces, so perhaps some irrational exuberance or exaggerated fears from a psychological standpoint are starting to permeate across the market. So we'll definitely have to monitor that closely. But this past week, we had a lot of key geocosmic signatures. We had Saturn go direct the same day that Scorpio season began, and Venus ingressed into Scorpio the same day as the sun on the 23rd of October. We then had a solar eclipse on the 25th. Of October, and looking forward into the next week as I pull up a chart here of the Dow Jones, we have Mars going retrograde, and Mars will be retrograde until the beginning of 2023. So that's a very key transit right now because Mars is in the sign of Gemini, and Gemini is very much a commercially oriented, trading oriented sign. So perhaps volatility remains elevated until Mars retrograde ends. Now, keep in mind that volatility doesn't necessarily always have to work on the downside. Volatility just means wide price swings. And we're seeing that unfold as we are in this low liquidity environment. You can see how the Dow is now up around 15% from the low of mid-October. We have 1 day left in the trading month on Monday on Halloween. So going out near the highs of the week here is looking more bullish. And if we can go out near the highs of the month, that will look even better too. But it is worth pointing out that the NASDAQ continues to lag. Now, let me actually go back to the Dow real quick. You can see that today the NASDAQ is outperforming, but on the week, the NASDAQ has been lagging. And this is something we've been discussing for several months now as Saturn has transited through Aquarius. Now that Saturn is direct again, we're going to be in the sign of Aquarius until March when Saturn goes into Pisces. But we can see the real-time ramifications of Saturn going through a sign and how it leads to lagging price action of the sectors ruled by that sign. We had a lot of big tech names, stocks like Netflix, Facebook, or Meta, and Google experienced, huge declines at one point or another. This year, Apple had earnings this past week and actually beat expectations and is up nicely going into the weekend as well. So not all hope is lost on the tech space, but that's not likely where we are going to see the outperformance in the next few months. So let's take a look at crude oil as well, because a big theme that has been expressed as Jupiter has been through Pisces, at least when it was in there earlier this year, was crude oil outperforming. So I'm taking a look at the USO crude oil ETF. This is an ETF that we analyze in the monthly ETF report. So, we analyze that in the report, and, we were up on the week, down a little bit here on Friday, just as Jupiter ingressed into Pisces. So need to see a little bit more improvement. We discussed that in the ETF report. Definitely should check it out if you're interested. Want to take a look at the US dollar, which continues to correct. It's up a little bit here on Friday, but overall, this correction or consolidation at the least is very likely a welcome development from stocks. So definitely something to keep an eye on. And, the high formed right around the time when everyone was saying the dollar is going to keep destroying the world. But now, we're seeing some improvements, slight improvements from a technical standpoint in the euro and in the Japanese yen. Let's take a look at the interest rate on the 10-year Treasury note. Came down a little bit from the highs last week, but catching a little bit of a rally here on Friday. Could this be a high or low? Remains to be seen. But as we look forward into next week, we do have Venus opposing Uranus on the 5th of November. So big moves in currency markets, which can impact bond markets, are to be expected at least by next week. We have the Fed minutes next week as well. So with Venus opposite Uranus, don't be surprised if there is a pivot of some sort in their verbiage. Right now the market expects a 75 basis point rate hike, but with Venus opposing Uranus, there will be shocks and surprises with respect to money, which Venus rules. So definitely need to be on our toes for the FOMC meeting on the 2nd of November. Moving on, we also have, we're looking at the gold miners chart, GDX. This is another ETF that we analyze in the monthly ETF report, down a little bit from its high earlier this week. So still some technical issues to resolve there, but gold still in a real choppy formation. And last but certainly not least, Bitcoin. So a lot of key updates that we've shared in this market in the MMA cryptocurrency reports on the weekly and daily levels. So definitely would recommend that you check those out at www.mmacycles.com. But nice rally a bit here in the last few sessions. Pulled back a little bit on Thursday, seeing a little bit of a relief rally again here on Friday. We've noted, especially when it comes to Ethereum, I'll pull up that chart now. And it was actually a little late, this study this time around, but whenever Venus goes through Libra, the likelihood of a 20% or greater move in Ethereum is significantly higher. And again, Venus ingressed into Scorpio on the 23rd, and we did have a, if we measure it from this low in mid-October, we've had a greater than 30% move. So it was right as Venus left the sign of Libra and went into Scorpio that historical study of ours was satisfied. So it was off by a couple days, but nonetheless, it unfolded accordingly. So definitely always nice to see our financial astrology studies unfold accordingly. So that takes care of what I wanted to talk with you about this week. I hope you enjoyed the video. Not this upcoming week, but the following week, we will have our MMA cycles report published again. We did just have the MMA monthly addendum report that was written by Puyan Zulfargarnia, sent out this past week. So check that out as well if you're interested in Brent, crude oil, or a more picture-oriented report. That's a great report for readers. And aside from that, check out Ray's free weekly column at www.mmacycles.com. And it's still forecast season. Time is running out. This is your best time to get bundled deals on our various subscription reports. So check that out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.